Get a perspective straight from the horse's mouth. For that, I'm joined by Fergus Shield, Project Manager of China Cables. Let's quickly go across to Mr. Shield. A very warm welcome to you, sir, for joining us here at Wion. Let me begin by asking you, how is China Cables different from other exposés, including the latest NYT exposé?
What differentiates China Cables from previous investigations are two things. Primarily. The first is that it's the first time ever that there's an operation manual has been revealed for the camps in which more than 1 million Uyghurs and other ethnic minorities are understood to have been detained. That's the first thing that makes a difference from all other reports on it. There have been anecdotal reports, there have been satellite images, and of course most recently there was the New York Times report which looked at the sort of policy settings for these camps. But this is the very first time that a document outlining the operation of the camps has been leaked. And we understand that it's the first document of its kind to have come out of China for more than 30 years because of its classification level. The second thing that we can say about it is that it's the first time ever that the surveillance platform data sweep has been revealed in such detail. So what we have is we have one telegram, which is effectively an operation manual for the camps in which more than 1 million Uyghurs are believed to be detained. And secondly, we have 4 bulletins or directives from the chief security person in Xinjiang outlining the kind of data which is used to as the basis for detaining people without charge, without judicial process. And the simplest thing can have you detained. So in 1 week alone in 2017, something like 15,000 people were detained according to the bulletins, and many of those people were detained simply for having an app on their phone, or for having sought a visa to leave the country, or for having returned to the country on the mere suspicion of behaviour that the government considers unacceptable.
Right. Mr. Shield, needless to say, the numbers are astounding. What do the classified intelligence briefings reveal about the scope and ambition of Chinese government's AI-based policing platform? Do you think the AI platform is trying arrests as pre-crime prevention efforts? And does the Xinjiang police take these orders directly from iJob or Cybernetic?
I think what it reveals is that it is the integrated joint operation platform, which is essentially the cybernetic predictive policing tool that is used in Xinjiang, pulls in even the most intimate details of people's lives into a huge database, and that becomes the basis for believe it or not, the local authorities believing that they can predict whether someone commits a crime, not whether somebody has committed a crime, but that at some future time they may commit a crime. And those crimes, as we see in one of the other documents, can be as remarkable as telling somebody that they should not watch porn or that they should not swear. And so the final document in our set is a court case involving a Uyghur man who is jailed for, incredibly jailed for 10 years for having told some work colleagues that because they were Muslim, and if they wanted to be good Muslims, they should not swear, they should not watch pornography. And for that, he was jailed for 10 years. And this gives you an idea of the repressive nature of the data collection and the criminality of what are, everyday events in people's lives.
Indeed, the surveillance seems to be shocking. What do you infer from this terrifying section on manners, change of clothes, etc.?
So we understand from experts, now this is what experts are saying, that many Han Chinese view Uyghurs as less cosmopolitan, less modern than they are. And so consequently, what we see in the documents is this bizarre effort to retrain, bizarre and chilling, frankly, horrific efforts to retrain and re-engineer a huge community, a community of more than 1 million people, and in sort of basic hygiene. And we understand from some of the Uyghurs that have been in there that in fact the conditions are so awful that in some of the dormitories they're crowded, that there's only 1 or 2 commodes, so that people who want to go to the toilet at night are forced to use very few facilities. One of the oddest and most banal but chilling aspects of the documents are where they say things like that people only have 2 to 3 minutes on the toilet. So even the amount of time that you spend on the toilet is regulated. And we know from speaking to Uyghurs that have been in the camps that incredibly the way that you sleep is regulated. And so people in the camps are, according to the Uyghurs, told that they can only sleep on one side. So the camp guards tell them where to sit, where to line up, where to sleep, how long they can go to the toilet. They take their phones away from them. They don't allow them to go out or come back in. They monitor them with facial recognition cameras. They monitor everyone who comes in. They don't allow them to contact friends or family. And these are what the Chinese government says are free and voluntary camps. But everything in the manual and everything that we've learned from speaking to Uyghurs around the world tell us that this is in fact not the case.
All right, indeed, there are some shocking revelations coming our way, Mr. Sheel. And before I let you go, how are local authorities targeting Uyghurs?
So what we've seen in the IJOP bulletins, there are 4 bulletins, and these bulletins, as I said, are essentially directives for collection and distribution of data in relation to, so it's a mass surveillance of Uyghurs and other ethnic minorities in Xinjiang. And what they say, amongst other things, is that people who have a certain phone app can be targeted for detention. People who leave the country can be targeted for detention. People who come back into the country can be targeted for detention. People who apply for visas can be targeted for detention. But amongst the other reasons that you can be targeted for detention are if you have, connections with people overseas, and if you try to bypass the firewall to contact people overseas. So essentially, anyone who has a connection to the outside world in Xinjiang is immediately suspect. And we know from the huge numbers of people that are actually detained, something like 15,000, more than 15,000 people in 1 week in June alone, 15,000 something in 1 week alone in June 2007. That really, it's not fanciful, it's not exaggerated, it's real. They are targeting, the Chinese authorities in Xinjiang are targeting essentially everyone and viewing the entire community with suspicion.
Right. All right, Mr. Sheel, thank you for bringing us all those details, which are, of course, certainly very terrifying revelations coming our way. Thank you so much for sparing us.